So I know that title is probably a little bit shocking to see there. Probably looks a little bit clickbaity, but bear with me. Hear me out on this. I promise you it is not clickbait. And it is also not coming from the perspective of somebody who doesn't want to play Grand Theft Auto 6. I am eagerly awaiting the release of Grand Theft Auto 6. GTA is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. Honestly, it might even be my favorite video game franchise of all time. It's right up there with Resident Evil. And just taking a step back and looking at this objectively, it is, without a doubt, I would say the most anticipated game in general of all time. And I think you could even make a case for this being the most anticipated piece of entertainment of all time. And boy, we have been anticipating this thing for a long ass time. So, to the question at hand here, to the title at hand, what we're discussing, how we've been waiting so long, how could you possibly suggest that Grand Theft Auto 6 needs to get delayed to 2026? And that is because 2025 is already so fucking stacked. And it's kind of one of those things where I wouldn't mind seeing Grand Theft Auto 6 slip to 2026 to give room for these 2025 games to breathe. Like, I don't think people are aware, because, you know, we're still in 2024. People aren't really building up their most anticipated lists of all the games coming out in 2025. But I'm going to go over a list here today with you all of some of the 2025 games that we know about. And I cut a lot out of this list. I really kept this list only to games that I think are going to be juggernauts. Absolute massive, you know, critical and commercial, well, I shouldn't say commercial success, because that's the thing. A lot of these games will not be commercial successes if they launch anywhere near Grand Theft Auto 6's orbit. Alright, so to go over this list real quick, we have Judas, Ken Levine's next game. For the first time in over a decade, we're getting a new Ken Levine game. Looks very much in that same Bioshocky sphere in terms of the gameplay first-person perspective. You know, you got your magic spells and all your different abilities in one hand, and then your gun in the other, and then looks fun as shit. Crimson Desert. This is coming from the Black Desert Online, the MMO, huge hit MMO game, and they are taking those resources and pouring it into like a straight-up single-player game that looks like damn Assassin's Creed meets Breath of the Wild meets Ghost of Tsushima meets fucking crazy physics-driven, you know, destructibility, and kind of giving you some vibes of like Mercenaries. This is right up there as one of my most anticipated games of 2025. It just looks so batshit crazy, and I'm always eager to check out something that looks that unusual. Death Stranding 2, a fucking Kojima game releasing next year. It looks visually just absolutely stunning. I don't, you know, we'll hope that they make some slight gameplay tweaks to it so it'll be a little bit more enjoyable to play. But to be fair, I probably need to go back and give Death Stranding 1 another go before 2 comes out. I just didn't vibe with Death Stranding 1. But regardless, a Kojima game is coming out in 2025. Oh, and hey, how about Mafia: The Old Country is also launching in 2025? Another open world crime sandbox. You know, they don't really lean into the sandbox nature as much as GTA, but another open world crime game in 20, and also these are both under the Take-Two umbrella. That doesn't seem all that wise to me. It makes me kind of wonder if Mafia: The Old Country is going to be a little bit more like scaled back, a little bit more linear. I feel like I remember seeing in their press release for Mafia: The Old Country that they talked about like going back to the roots of the linear storytelling that you know and love from the Mafia franchise. So I don't know, that makes me wonder if they're going to do something to kind of separate from the Grand Theft Auto mold. I think that the worst thing about the Mafia games historically has always been the fact that the open world is usually the worst part about those games, and the actual set pieces and the story and the, you know, character performances and all of that stuff really elevates the Mafia games. And I think the open world kind of holds it back in some sense. So I'd be really interested in maybe more like zone level structures, like maybe smaller open world spaces, like maybe multiple smaller open world spaces that you can explore in a Mafia game. Also staying in the Take-Two realm, Borderlands 4 is set to release in 2025. Now, you could maybe make the argument that this might bomb. Didn't seem like the Borderlands movie went over too well. It doesn't seem like this tone is really appealing. I don't think that this tone that Borderlands is known for is necessarily what audiences are looking for. at this moment, but you can also kind of look at that trailer and go, this looks a little bit grittier. This has like a different art style and maybe a little bit different of a tone than we expect from the typical Borderlands game. And also, I mean, we can't forget the fact that like Borderlands 1 and 2 were humongous commercial hits, and Borderlands 3 as well. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily look at the success of the movie and think that that is necessarily indicative of how Borderlands 4, the video game, will perform. And I know that this next one I'm about to talk about, you might look at and be like, does this necessarily qualify as like a humongous new game that's coming out in 2025? But bear with me for a second, because like, and we're talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And you got to look at this thing. Obviously, I'll have the trailer running so you can see it. This looks like the first ever, $200 million turn-based RPG. And I don't know shit about their budget or how expensive this game was to create or anything like that, but you can't look at this and not feel the money. Like, this looks expensive. This looks like a premium kind of big budget turn-based RPG, which we just do not see many of these, blockbuster turn-based RPGs at all. And I don't know, I just think this looks really, really good. I think this has the potential of blowing up and being something big. So definitely keep your eye on Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And now, speaking of big budget, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. And not only a new humongous Marvel game coming out in 2025, but Amy Hennig's next game releasing in 2025. You're talking about Ken Levine. You're talking about Hideo Kojima. You're talking about Amy Hennig. You're talking about some of the biggest names in this space, all releasing games in 2025. And you're also talking about people who are not necessarily the most prolific in their release cadence. Like, you're talking about people who don't release games all that often. And all three of these heavy hitters, these industry titans, are dropping games in 2025. To be fair, though, I could see this Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra game being delayed, though, because we haven't really seen any like actual gameplay on it. And I don't want to go too much into speculation territory for what else we might get in 2025, but I do think it's a fairly strong likelihood that we either get that Venom game from Insomniac in 2025, or I would say at the very least Spider-Man 2 DLC. I think that's a lock. I think there's even a chance that Wolverine could slip in like late 2025. I would probably predict 2026 for Wolverine, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that that's a late 2025 game. Oh yeah, and how about in 2025, we're also getting Capcom's best-selling game, Monster Hunter Wilds. We're pretty much getting the follow-up to that with Monster Hunter Worlds. You're talking about a 20+ million copies sold, guaranteed smash commercial hit. I would imagine probably a critical hit as well. And oh yeah, how about like the Fable fans out there who have just, been waiting 15 years for the next Fable game? Oh, that's set to come out in 2025 as well. Once again, could see this one slipping to 2026, but it is dated for 2025 at the time being. And staying right there in Xbox land, Doom the Dark Ages. That's 2025 as well. You'll be crushing up skulls and shooting out bone particles and riding around on flying dragons in 2025. And I'm pretty confident that that one actually will hit 2025. That gameplay looked so sick. And so we got our Kojima game coming in 2025. How about we also get a remake to what I would say a lot of people, maybe even the majority of Metal Gear Solid fans, would consider the greatest Metal Gear Solid game, with MGS3. I know the remake for MGS3 is right now, it's still saying 2024 for its release window. I feel like by this point, we're in mid-September as of recording this. I think that we would know by now if it was going to launch in 2024, but let me go ahead and throw this out here because I have no idea when I'll put this video out. If we have already seen the state of play that is supposed to be coming in September, I could see the release date being announced at that state of play for like December of, this year, 2024. So maybe we do see that situation play out at the state of play that's supposed to be coming in a couple weeks. So these next two I'm just going to shout out real quick because they're not really in any risk of being impacted at all by Grand Theft Auto 6, but just adding to that laundry list of heavy hitters that are coming out in 2025. We have Avowed that's releasing in February. Obsidian's like next real AAA RPG. And then we also have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 releasing in 2025. And I know the first one sold pretty well for Kingdom Come Deliverance. I think we're about to see a humongous spike for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Like, I think that game is going to dominate early 2025. I don't know why. I just have this feeling that that game is going to be, I think we're going to see Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 push into like that 20, 30 plus million copies sold range when it's all said and done. I have a feeling this is going to be a juggernaut. Like, I could see this kind of being the Black Myth Wukong of next year. Just this surprising level of success and popularity, and, you know, end up at the end of the year being like top 5 best-selling games of the year. And right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a list on the screen for you all to see of the games that I cut from this list, the games that I didn't include in this discussion that we just had. So you're talking about another laundry list of you know, big-ish upcoming titles in 2025. And also, we can't forget, the Switch 2 is also going to launch in 2025. So that means, you know, you're definitely going to get you a Pokemon game. We got Metroid Prime 4 that's set for 2025. I would be pretty confident that the Switch 2 will launch with, like, you know, a 3D Mario game, or at least a Mario game of some sort that'll be humongous. And then on top of that, marketing schedules and just from the time a game gets revealed to the time a game launches, that seems to be drastically shortening. That period of time seems to be drastically shortening. And like, you look at RE4 was announced in June of 2022 and then launched in like March of 2023. Games used to have, you know, 4, 5, 6 year marketing campaigns, and, you know, you're not even talking about a year with a lot of the games that release today. So there's still so many things that will come out in 2025 that we have no idea about currently. And I would assume that you'll see a lot of that out of Nintendo. I think when that Switch 2 comes out, it's going to come out with a pretty killer launch, at least launch window lineup of games. And I think you can make the case, just for the industry's long-term success, that you could make the case that it would probably be better to, instead of having this crazy, just jam-packed year of heavy hitter after heavy hitter after heavy hitter, and then a Switch 2 launch and full of fucking great titles there, I think you could make the argument that it would be better for the industry overall to have 2 really, really strong years back to back, where we're not looking at a Switch 2 and GTA 6 in the same year, where it's like, okay, 2025 is dominated by the Switch 2, and then 2026 is dominated by Grand Theft Auto 6. And also, let me be completely honest in this assessment here. A lot of this does come from the fact where it's like, dude, I want to play a lot of these 2025 games, and when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, I am going to be very reluctant to pick up and dive into anything but GTA 6. So a lot of these games that I want to play in 2025, I'm probably not going to be able to get around to them if they launch anywhere near where Grand Theft Auto 6 launches, because I'll be knee deep in, you know, hundreds of hours of fucking playing Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, I plan on ignoring every other video game when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, for, you know, definitely for the time it takes me at the very least to complete the campaign. But I would imagine a good 100 hours of my game time will be dedicated to Grand Theft Auto 6, and I will be ignoring every other game until I see that through. And I wonder and kind of worry that if there are millions and millions of others like me who have that same mindset, like, what does that look like for these other games that could be launching in GTA 6's orbit? Are they going to get just totally trounced? Are they just going to get totally, you know, cannibalized? Are the sales going to be totally cannibalized for anything that launches near Grand Theft Auto 6? So I say it is best for everybody if we push Grand Theft Auto 6 to 2026. And you could kind of make the argument based off of what I just said there, where it's like, well, marketing campaigns have gotten a lot shorter, so who knows, 2026 might be a heavy hitter, just a list of killer new games coming out. But you typically don't see 2 back-to-back, like, stacked years of new game releases. So I think I would have to predict, with my fucking crystal ball that means absolutely fuck all, that we're not gonna have a crazy 2025 and then also a crazy 26 of new game releases. But really, at the end of the day, this is more so than anything coming from a selfish perspective where I just personally want Grand Theft Auto 6 to come out in a slower year. That way I can, fully marinate in all of that auto thievery without having any AAA distractions on the horizon. But with all of that nonsensical bullshit out of the way, let the hype train begin, because regardless if it's 2025, 2026, GTA 6 is indeed on the way.